Hey,
What's going on, man?
hey. Good to
Uh,
see you again.
Nice to see you. How you been?
When you're doing some exciting work, you're always excited. And I don't know if that's good or bad. Always excited is not good either, I guess.
It's better than always being upset. So yeah, I'll take
Right,
it.
right. Now I'm wondering, like, what is being not excited? So I have lots of things to put out today for the content that we're setting up for. Maybe say 30 minutes or so, we can cover a whole lot of topics. But I want to get your introduction in first. I want to make sure that everybody knows who JR is. So make an intro, please.
So yeah, my name is J.R. Robinson. I say my original trait was being a diesel mechanic. From there, went to engineering. From there, we went into being a serial entrepreneur, right? So this whole piece of the AI is me trying to figure out how do I apply AI to my business techniques. So that's what I'm here for, and that's what we're gonna learn.
And your educational background, uh, you know, tell us more about that.
Oh yeah, so as far as education goes, it's basically technical college as starting out. It was OSU, Oklahoma State, and going in there, and that's how I got my first degrees and getting into the field of diesel technology. After that, we went to Chicago. We went to actually when I was in Chicago, I got my business degree. As far as the whole not associates and applied, I'm tripping. That's the oh that was the MBA, I believe. Not a master's though. It was just the business science and all that fun stuff. Knocked that stuff out, and then from there, it was the whole mechanical engineering thing. I kind of did those simultaneously a little bit, but was able to do that. And then after that, it was just all me as far as self-taught, getting out there and doing it. And that was for maybe about a good, almost a decade of just being in the streets, right? Just ground and pound every day into just learning the lessons I needed to learn. So I have a bit of formal knowledge, but lately the whole latter half has been mostly just all self-taught, being out there, man.
Gotcha, gotcha. That's important because idea behind Aloha, right? Applied learning opportunities for harnessing AI. Idea behind this Aloha program is to really bring in the subject matter experts from as many corners as possible, right? Uh, because in the AI space right now, where if I have to talk to any crowd, I feel that majority of the crowd is not so familiar with AI, and because I'm in the AI bubble, I feel like everybody knows about AI, and when I find out that they don't know much about AI, it's the meme, that Pikachu face, right? You don't know AI? How come? What do you do that you don't need AI for? I get that shock, but I shouldn't be, right? It's just the nature of way things are. Nature of things is when you have a new technology, only the technologists can be, very excited over it. However, people that don't use it on a daily basis are not necessarily thinking about it, right? They go on doing their lives, just like when cloud came out. When cloud was slowly picking up steam and everybody was investing tons of money into it. Well, people that were investing money was the one that was selling the cloud system, not necessarily using cloud system, right? They were selling it to somebody to use it, and they had a lot of excitement. I thought I was very excited, and then I find out that even to this day, 47% of businesses don't use cloud at all. That's a lot of businesses, right?
Right.
But that's been going on for like last 10 years, 15 years now, right? The cloud hype, cloud excitement. Now everybody's kind of seeing the value of cloud. The cloud is what everybody relies on. I mean, all these things that are happening in front of me and in front of you is all cloud based, right?
Yeah.
Um, so with AI, it's no different. But one of the things that people don't know much about AI will think that AI just been around for last 2 years, 3 years, or something like that, right? They're counting years to say when does it mature and when do I jump in? sort of like how cloud matured and cloud is everything is cloud, right? Uh,
Right.
People are anticipating that. I think there's a difference, though, right? AI has been in development for close to 100 years, right? And since its inception of it, I think the first image recognition was from 1948. It's been a while.
Yeah.
So I say that with all my excitements as well, because this kind of piques everybody's interest, curiosity. Like, what's the difference between cloud and AI, right? Cloud and AI difference is cloud is something that we didn't have before, but AI, we've had it for a very long time. It's just that it's coming together in a Goldilocks zone where now, because of cloud's availability, AI is becoming very much in the surface, right? Very available for everybody to use. So that's the next evolution of cloud, is that if you are in a cloud system and you have access to cloud and you are utilizing cloud, what do you do next? You tap into AI.
Okay.
So going back to you, importance of somebody like you is that you are learning about AI and you add that new fresh perspective to the AI market, right? Because it's about you. What it is that you need,
Right.
right? And somebody like me will have to say, okay, you have all these things as far as cloud goes, all these things technology goes. Here are some of the things that you haven't been able to do much about. What can AI do about those, right? What are those use cases? What are those business pain points? What are those value add that you've been thinking of but not being able to do much with because of restrictions in technological development, based on coding, based on cloud? But with AI, it might be different, right?
Mhm.
Um, so tell us a little bit about your journey in AI so far, and where you've been and where you're going.
Oh man, so my as far as AI goes, I'm new to it, right?
Yeah,
I'm trying to learn as much as I can about how to actually apply it to business practices, in particular with my business. So one of my business was is um, doing mobile battery changes, right? But one of the problems that I was having is being able to be in the right place at the right time, as far as not just advertising goes, but product placement, right? And people knowing, hey, this is who I can use for that for this particular service. So yes, I was able to get my product in front of people's faces, and yes, they do buy it whenever they need it, sure. But my question is, how do I go about doing better analytics or predictive analytics using AI, so I could not waste as much money marketing in areas where I didn't need to be marketed, things like that, right? I would say I won't say I wasted the money, but essentially that's how it feels whenever you spend the money and you don't get the results that you want. It's like, okay, well, how do I be more effective at this, and how do I use artificial intelligence to kind of guide me as far as saying these are the points that you need to be hitting because of this data. This is what the data says, right? Which is essentially is a lot of research, but if I could streamline that research, that would be great because that takes a lot of time. So that's where I want to go with it, is actually figuring out how to apply AI to my research, or to the actual business structure and the research piece of it, so that the research is done by the AI, the data is great aggregated by the AI, and then it can bring me the results and saying this is where you're most likely to achieve that success that you're looking for, and give me that advantage, like that competitive advantage.
I want to get to your answer, but first let me crack a joke here. I'm not a therapist, but I play one when I'm talking to the CEOs and C-suite folks. I want you to really assure you and comfort you that return on investment is the biggest pain point in the AI industry, because there isn't much. And when I say much, I mean that it's a really hard task to find out how to identify these opportunities and how to find the return on investment on these opportunities,
Right.
right? So from your pain point that you're suggesting, and look, this is not a small business thing, not a medium-sized business. This is all business problem, right? And if you want to do further research on the losses that occurs from AI, you have to look at the recent crash in Wall Street, which wiped out about $2 trillion over an evening, right? And that $2 trillion came from two factors. One was AI, and one was the Japanese economy, right? So fear of Japanese economy's downtime. So if you were to reflect on those two topics and say return on investment, how do I make sure I don't jump in and not get any return on investment, right? That's everybody, right? Everybody's saying that. However, I want to show you the opposite of it, right? Which is that some of the people that are selling AI services, they're eating their own dog food to prove to you that if you were to use AI correctly, and if you're able to identify the opportunities that are scalable and sustainable, you will have and different metrics that will make it look like you have return on investment, just like you will have return on data, right? That return on data is important because what you're describing is predictive analytic. You have to look in the past and look into the future as well, right? So if you are able to look into the past, just because you look at the past doesn't mean you will actually do something for the future. You actually have to think through and say, while I'm looking to the past, I'm going to figure out the future as well. And that's a task that AI is really, really good at. And what I mean by that, the top beneficiaries of AI is marketing and sales, right? So our conversation is in the right direction, right? Now, if you tell me, how about manufacturing? That's when I'll stomp a little bit and say, okay, let's lay down the full spectrum and figure each pieces of the manufacturing out, and I'll tell you how the scalability and sustainability of AI works. But
Okay.
for marketing and sales purposes, these guys have been using AIs for very, very, very long time. We might not think about it, but they've been using it for a very long time. So you can look up A/B testing. You can look up statistical analysis behind marketing and sales. These are AI contribution that's been going on for 10, 15 years, even more, right? We can look at a machine learning system that was back in 1995 that were doing early detection support services that is still in use today, and I can give you some of those pointers as well, right? So predictive analytics, looking at the past information to find the future, is what AI is a subject matter expert of, right? Because of Gen AI, the AIs are able to do it even faster. What that means is that AIs are able to detect those information and actually translate those information on your behalf using a human language.
Okay.
So prior to Gen AI with ChatGPT and so many other large language model that is easily accessible, what we had to do is actually look at the business intelligence report, right? To see, okay, what is AI telling us? How do we interpret it? Well, now AI is literally interpreting all these without using numbers. It's literally telling a story, right? It's literally identifying context of the content it's showing to you, right? So, long story short, marketing and sales is a high beneficiary of artificial intelligence and machine learning and Gen AI. Your predictive analytic piece, your sales piece, is that if you would like to do predictive analytics, how would you go about understanding what the demand signal is and what part of the market segment does that demand signal exist in? That's the first piece of any
Right.
business is the research.
Right.
Research your customer discovery, your market segment, and understanding what the demand signal is, and if that demand signal is translatable into profit, right?
Right.
If there's no profit, let's go to the next one, right?
Right.
Um, if you're to put an AI into it, even a large language model can achieve that. And if you add some data into it, a large language model like ChatGPT, Anthropic, Claude, all the systems can guide you into certain ways and give you perspectives that you probably haven't thought of, right? But if you were to think about, how do I even go deeper? Well, how do you process those demand signal, right? As you as you're capturing the demand signal and you're able to process those demand signal, in between each layer of those demand signal processing, you have lots of Gen AI use cases, and that boils down to the single word of communication,
Okay.
right? Earlier, I talked about this is the communications we have, which is I used to look at a business intelligence just by numbers and columns and rows, but now I'm able to tell a story. I'm able to actually use text. I'm able to use a human story, right? Um, I know it's a very long answer, but I wanna take a pause here and hear your thoughts.
So yeah, it sounds like I'm behind the curve, right? I'm, I'm I'm thinking about how can I use it. And you're like, oh well, I mean, these guys have been doing it for decades. Like, oh, okay. So really, it's not that far fetched, right? I can actually, but it's a matter about learning how to plug it in, grabbing a large language model, and how to train that large language model to find what it is that I'm looking for.
Yeah, so the byproduct of learning about AI and machine learning for a very long time is learning about data sets for a very long time. So, if you speak to certain individuals about their AI and machine learning journey, they're not going to talk about the output. They're going to talk about the data sets. And that's what we all specialize on is the data sets. And the reason that's important is because if you can understand where the data comes from and understand how this data has to be processed, you have done half of your work, right? The
Mm,
rest of it is to figure out how to make it make sense to the return investors. How
right,
do I make it sense about return on data? How do I make it sense for return on investment? That's what's been important with AI machine learning journey, right? So I want to actually be a therapist one more time, if you let me. I'm not a certified therapist. I just play one. um, you have far more advantages than any company that came to exist back in 2000 or 2010s. You have far more advantage than any of these companies because if you are structuring your business today, that small business, as you set it out, these small businesses that are starting today, they have tools and capabilities that companies back in 2000 and 2010s didn't have. And the reason I distinguish between 2000 and 2010s is because in 2010, if you started a business, you somehow were able to be smart enough to say, I'm going to jump into the cloud before I buy any hardware, before I buy any software. I'm just going to be in the cloud and buy everything from the cloud.
right,
What that did is it reduced your early investments into the infrastructure, which means you never owned anything, you never bought anything, you outsourced everything to the cloud. Now imagine a business starting in 2000. They don't even have millions of dollars, but they already spent $500,000 on infrastructure.
right,
So by the time they became profitable, they're still reeling from the $500,000 that they spent on getting the business started.
right,
So for a small business today, going back to 2010s, well, Netflix started it back in 99, but by the time they got to the cloud, guess what happened to Netflix by, say, end of the decade? By 2020, Netflix was the biggest market you can find that just pretty much came in and just took over everything, right?
right,
What else can you think about that's in cloud, right? You can think about companies that are Amazon. They are literally providing us with cloud services. Guess why they're so big, right? So you have all these cloud solutions that people took advantage of. And today, since you're not going to think about like, okay, I'm just going to avoid cloud. I'm sorry, you're not going to avoid cloud. You're going to be in the cloud. And if you're thinking about business ahead and 10 years from now, you're thinking, if I'm in the cloud already, why am I not taking advantage of AI?
right,
What does my business do that I can outsource it to an AI, right? And how
yeah,
can I do more things that are creative, right? Because that's what we need a lot more of, is to be more creative with our brains that we have. Outsource all the mundane, repeatable, redundant work to AI, and we get to do the cool stuff, right? Cool stuff
right,
that we can save time with and just, capture a new market segment. If there isn't one, we create one, right?
right,
Um, so I will tell you, as a small business, you're far more advantageous than some of the clients that I've been working with for the last 10 years, where if you mention AI, the first thing they will say, we don't have money for that.
right,
We already spent five years ago, we spent so much money on infrastructure. I'm sorry, we cannot invest on AI today. But a small business that's starting today, they're saying, you know what? I can have an AI and do the same amount of work that you do with however many employees you have,
right.
right? So I just want to put it
Ah,
out there for you.
that's nice. So I mean, being able to, because I know there's a couple large language models that are for free, that are
That's right.
for free. So I mean, if I'm able to just get, I see what you're saying. If I could get those large language models now, that's not something that was available 10 years ago. So
Nowhere near.
it's about getting those models and training them. If I could spend the time to train them, getting the proper data sets and put them in there, then I could I could bring my things up to speed. That's that's okay. All right, it's making sense. So
You're skipping multiple levels of things actually, because if you were to able to skip infrastructure back in 2000s, by 2010 you weren't really skipping um, codes. You really had to spend a lot of your time in codes. But in 2020s, which is 2025 coming up soon, you are skipping the infrastructure. You're skipping the human cost, the labor cost that comes with the coding. You're skipping infrastructure and coding. And what you're jumping into is large language model, which is the futures of next 10 years to come minimum.
right,
Because in my head, no matter how much of a Star Trek I have in my head, I cannot imagine anything to come after large language model, right? But I
yeah,
don't want to put that out into the webcast to tell everybody that Asif said there's nothing better than large language model. I don't think there is, because if you have a large language model, what else do you need other than to communicate in human language, right?
right,
Using your human language, you can code now. Using
right,
your human language, you can talk to the cloud and say, I don't have this infrastructure. I need it up and running in 45 minutes. But you don't have to code to get that infrastructure up and running. You literally took a large language model and typed it in the prompt, said, I know if I tell the prompt right now to set up an infrastructure in cloud, it will do it for me. But most things that I might have to do is just copy and paste. But otherwise, it's done. The infrastructure is up, code is already written, infrastructure is running. All I have to do is validate and continue with my business.
right.
But again, I will not say that large language model is it. But large language model, what else do you need? I cannot fathom that. I just think large language model is it.
I mean, the next thing is like robots and stuff, right?
Oh yeah.
iRobot comes after large language model, but yeah, okay. So I mean, that's pretty straightforward then. So you get the large language model, and you're able to, because I mean, you're right. Everything else has basically been streamlined. I don't have to worry about a whole lot about infrastructure or how to advertise as much as I was trying to focus on making sure that essentially reducing the amount of time, right, that it's taking me to do this research. And that's basically what I'll be able to bypass. And if I could bypass that, I mean, I got a lot of time to do other things, right? My business has more than just one arm, so those things, and not just the advertising piece, but if I could use it to streamline as much of the business as possible. So maybe even multiple large language models that are able to work together and kind of really mitigate risk and knock out all the extra stuff in between, right? All the emails, the things that I need to be automated and things like that. Like really knock that stuff out. And not just that, but I think before you told me about like being able to train it in a way where it's personalized to you, to your personal needs, right? So if I'm able to say, because my business doesn't operate like other businesses do, my business is the way I like for it to operate in the way that works for me. Um, so being able to train it not just in where's the marketing, but you know this is how according to the not the data set that I'm looking for, but the way that I'm looking to operate according to what I'm seeing in the environment, right? I could train it to do so. Now I don't have to worry about, what if the market changes all of a sudden? I gotta make these real quick adjustments. I could train a large language model to do that for me.
Um, Again, that's what I'm known for. I guess you can tell because we've been interacting for a while. Is that I always do a role play, right?
Mm,
This is what we do in Aloha from now on. We're gonna we're gonna bring people in and we're gonna role play because in each business you have a problem. It's just that you have your problem, not somebody else's problem, right? you have your own problem. That's what we say, mind your business, right?
Yeah.
So when we're role playing, let's say for example I'm a therapist, right? And then you come to me and you said like, well, what do you have to give to me that is AI? Right? So you have to describe to me your problem, and you talk me through your business pain points, or you just say, you know what, I need this, and then I'll start asking you like, okay, if you need this, how do you plug it in? Because if you have a Ferrari and you park it in the street, you might need a garage, right? But I don't know why you park your Ferrari on the street. Is probably because some other reasons, right? You probably live in Manhattan and you don't have a garage, so you just park it in the street, right? So the environment makes huge difference.
Right.
Your business problems makes a huge difference. Your inventory makes a huge difference, right? Something that you have, something that you use, and something that you cannot use. Once you know those pieces, and you say, well, something that I cannot use right now, I would like to use it in the future,
Right.
right? How do you work towards that? Is your step-by-step process of saying, if I need an AI, do I need all of AI? If I need to, just go out there and buy a Copilot service, do I need to buy the whole suite, right? Do I need to buy everything from AWS? You really have to think step by step of it, because what you have today, what you need tomorrow, and what you need 5 years from now, they all have to match, right?
Mhm.
So that part about your scalability and sustainability, we play it out in a role play, right? We pretend like we're in a conference room. We walk through each other's discussion, interest, business pain points, and say, okay, let's talk about it, right? Let's see how it is that AI adds value, but how also to eliminate the AI from this piece. We don't need AI at all, right? Because
Right.
this piece is where we focus the human in the loop, the HITL, right? Because that's
Okay.
important. Because
Right.
if you can use your human capital in a way that engages the customer further and keeps the customer in the mode to just keep coming back to you, you would want that, right? Do you want AI in that mix of customer service? I'm sure you do. But the HITL, human in the loop, is something that you have to work towards, right? You
Right.
want to make sure that your human capital is being utilized very, very properly, so that when AI is in the background humming, right? That's what we call the silent technology. Nobody knows it's back there, but it's working
Right.
beautifully.
Right.
I'll just leave it at that. But that's what this whole Aloha discussion is going to be about. Every week, we're going to come in and we're going to talk to as many people that would like to join in and talk to them about Aloha, talk to them about KISS for AI, keep it scalable and sustainable for
Yeah.
AI, not keep it simple and stupid. And we'll talk about KISS too, both of the KISSes, because there's a difference between DevOps and MLOps, and we'll talk more about those. So even a techie can be part of this conversation and can understand it very easily. So can a business person, right? A business
Right.
executive, a chief, or some sort of a director or manager. Everybody can participate in this Aloha conversation, and they will take away not about AI, but what it is that they need to know more of what they knew, right?
Right.
I always emphasize on the fact that it's not going towards AI, it's bringing AI towards you, right? And that's a huge difference, because you don't have to give up your domain expertise to, start using AI. You just have to use your domain expertise with AI,
Right.
right? I'll just leave it at that. But I think there's a whole lot of interesting conversation to have in the coming weeks.
Yeah, me too, man. Yeah, I didn't know a whole lot about, like I said before, I didn't know a whole lot about AI, and I'm not really a techie guy, right? But I do recognize that I will need it, and there's a real valuable use for it, right? And I mean, everybody else is doing it. So if my competitors are using AI to get to the market before I do, then I got a problem. So I gotta solve that problem. So yeah, it's not just about when I was, let's say, scared of AI, right? It's not really scared. It's just not knowing what it is and how to really apply it. Or whenever you hear about it, it's like, oh, Google uses AI. They're $1 billion company, trillion. It's like, yeah, and you automatically think it's out of your price range and it's some new tech and blah blah
Yeah,
blah. And then even like, let's say you go on these websites and stuff like that, and it's like powered by AI, or your phone is now powered by AI.
right.
I mean, it's just the presence of it. There's something about it that originally it makes you seem like, okay, AI is something that really only these big guys are using because Samsung or whoever it is that your phone is using and all that stuff, like they're the guys who are controlling it. But really, it's not that. It's not that at all. It's more, especially with the language models you showed me that are free. It's like no, it's just more about getting your own language model and training it. And if you're able to do that, you're in the game, right? So
Yes.
I'm all right with that.
Yeah, I mean, you're ahead of the curve. So sometimes we'll talk about Gen AI. I make the joke about it's not generative AI, it's a generational AI, right? Generational AI means not everybody uses the AI the same way, right?
Right, right,
Somebody will use AI to, 1% of their day, and somebody will use AI probably 98% of the day, right?
mhm,
But in between, you can tell somebody like my age where I'm standing with AI, right? Um, the advantage that you have is that you can ramp up your AI usage. Where for me, I have to really think through incrementally. So the idea is that you grow exponentially, I grow incrementally, because you're starting off with a fresh set of eyes, and you're able to tap into something that you probably don't have a habit out of, right? It's easier to change your habit when you're a small business that's growing, right?
right,
But when you are a generation that has been around for decades, and you grew into a habit that you're no longer willing to change, hint, hint, Blockbuster, right? They said, no way, nothing's changing here that is worth for me to change. Well, there's a reason a lot of the businesses we know doesn't exist anymore is because of these sort of decisions that was made about, okay, we'll wait and we'll watch, right?
right.
What you have with AI today is that it's almost free, right? That's not going to be the case 4 or 5 years from now. So your COMO, which is another business term that I love using, is cost of missed opportunity.
Hmm.
If you start today, you can start at free. If you start tomorrow, you will start at $1.99. But if you start 5 years from now, it's going to cost 200, if not 200,000.
Right,
Because what's happening in the market as more people are getting into AI space, the demand signal is going to increase. So, supply and demand is going to kick in.
yeah,
And cost of missed opportunity, we can track it by minute at this point. I would highly encourage anybody that's watching it to say, go watch NVIDIA's Jensen Huang, what he said about how we used to capture matrix 10 years ago, how we are capturing today. And today we can step by step do predictive analytics by looking into the past and figure out cost of missed opportunity of not doing business in certain way in 2022, and what it will cost us in 2026, and what it will end up costing us in 2036, right? So these sort of capabilities that are coming into the market is because of these ability to access free items today. With cloud, it was the case that, if you get your people to start using cloud, and you have that ability to interact with cloud a lot faster and better and for cheaper, because
hmm,
you used your internal human capital instead of outsourcing those work, you are able to get into the cloud and stay in cloud and make cloud relevant to your uh, um, uh, end of the year business ledger, right? Your profit made sense because cloud, you didn't spend way too much money in it, right?
right,
You didn't get the bill shock, if I may say so. But here we are in AI space where we're talking about the same thing, right? You have to get in early and get adjusted with AI really early on. You cannot look to your left and right and say, okay, my buddies are not doing it, so I'm not going to do it, right?
right,
It's a matter of early adopter advantage, because just like there is a disadvantage, but the disadvantage comes from if you have to spend $200,000 right off the bat. But when it's free as an early advantage, you just want to jump into it and say, okay, let's try it out, right? Early advantage, right? We're going to try it out. We're going to get our people trained up on it. And then we will make a decision on if we have to spend more money on it. But at least you know that your people are trained up on these things, right?
right,
So, of course, I do that myself because I have a lot of the partners that I outsource a lot of my work to, and I always bring them to my training. I say, like, come here, and see what it is that AI can do for whatever I outsource the work to you. So when you do your job, you're really good at it. Because
right,
as a small business owner, I don't have the luxury of hiring everybody, so all the work has to be outsourced.
right.
And everybody that I outsource the work to, I said, like, make sure you understand what it is that I do and you are using the same. So that way you're taking advantage of these free tools. So just to put it that way, it's not necessarily free per se. Sometimes it costs subscription money, but subscription is a lot better than just buying and owning things that
Right.
doesn't do return on investment.
Right. You can stop it anytime you want.
Just like cloud, you
Yeah.
just stop and you ramp up whatever you want to do in the cloud. You can do it. Yeah,
Cool. Cool.
yeah,
Yes. So yeah, that's the plan for me, man. That's how I plan on using AI in this particular business. There's other fields that I want to use AI in, but overall, man, I'm just looking to get a general knowledge and of how it works, how it can be applied, and like you said earlier, in a way that's sustainable and scalable, like future proofing it. So that later on, when things change, it's still something that's applicable.
yeah, yeah. And yeah, like I said, some of the useful tools that you can have is YouTube. Simple as that, right? But let's put up the difference between Aloha and YouTube. In Aloha, you can take all your YouTube knowledge, all your knowledge from Udemy, all the knowledge from Coursera, um, bring them here, bring them to Aloha, bring them to the KISS, right? Bring them
Yeah.
to our skills. What you'll be able to do is you will see the value of all the things you have learned, how to combine them into a single business.
Uh-huh.
Because what you will have is a lot of siloed and unassociated information, but how do you find the threads in between this information and bring them together and clump them together and make something out of it, right? That's the beauty of Aloha and KISS, is that you know what you know, but what we're going to do is help you to find those unknown, right? I
Mhm.
think you heard me say that, right? It's, you know what you know. It's known for you, right?
Right.
But how do I help you to communicate those known unknowns so that way you're not really comfortable asking those questions yet? But if you're asking those questions, I'm going to start tapping into some of the unknowns, and you're going to be able to say, well, I didn't know that, but now that I know, I'm far more comfortable about asking those questions. I'm able to
Right.
communicate my pain points, but as I communicate those pain points, I can always say, I don't need AI for that. They might need AI. I don't
Right.
know, right? So this
Right.
sort of differentiator, understanding your life cycle of your business, understanding where the AI fits into it, is important. And we do that in Aloha and Skills program instantaneously, rather than let you walk into the journey of, say, you didn't know it in mile zero, you're going to find out in mile 10. But mile 10 might be a little too hard to pivot back to mile 9 again and start all over again, right?
Right.
So we want to be able to help you understand these life cycle problems, or in manufacturing we call it cradle to grave. But any AI journey, if it's mile 0 to mile 30, how do we prep you on mile 1 and 2, so that way when you're on mile 10, you don't have these problems of unknown unknowns,
Right.
right? So I'll
The,
just leave that
st-
there.
the stuff you didn't know. The stuff you didn't know that you didn't know, but now it's important.
Now it's important.
Yeah.
It smacked me in my head a bunch of times for the last 10 years. These unknown unknowns have been the major cause of, I'll just put it at that pain point. I don't want to go too details into it, but unknown unknowns are what I'm expert of. I am literally experienced in it for the last 10 years of doing multiple startups, multiple data engagement, and multiple life cycles. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. 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 Definitely, man. Well,
Uh,
yeah. Well, I mean, it's definitely a pleasure being in here and being able to learn these things, man. I definitely
yes.
appreciate you. Um, you're a very generous individual. I'll say that much about you. You just say, "Hey, man, come to the class." I'm like, "All right, cool, let's check it out." So, that's not something that everybody offers. It's not usually that easy. So I appreciate that. I really do.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate you for making the time and being curious about it. Because one thing I know about you, that you are not fearful. But one thing I say about fear is that fear creates a distance, but
Mhm.
curiosity brings you closer. And that's what you had. You had a lot of curiosity, not fearful at all. And but that's what we do in Aloha and KISS program, is that we take that fear away. We turn that fear into curiosity, and that's the beauty
Wow.
of seeing somebody learn very quickly. They don't have to go to 6 weeks MIT or UT Austin, right?
Right.
They can learn these topics in MIT too, right? But if you learn it here in less than 4 hours and 6 hours in a snap, with everybody's going through the same pain problem as you, same sort of business problems as you. You know, you learn it quick and you learn it fast, and you're able to communicate and understand your gap in communication, gap in understanding, you know, in real time. I like that. I really enjoy those things.
Nice, nice. All right, cool, man. Thank you. Look, I want to do the one next week if that's all right. Yeah, both Aloha and I'll look into the KISS thing too, and keep
You
on doing it.
you are more than welcome to, sir.
Cool, man. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Take care, sir.
All right.